morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. We're here for the regular session of the Hunt County Commissioners Court. At this time, I will call the meeting to order and ask Commissioner Martin to lead us in prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our flags. Please stand.
Shall we bow? Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for allowing us to come here and take care of the citizens' business. When we do so, may we do it with wisdom, righteousness, and patience and understanding. Continue blessing this great country that we live in. Christ, we ask all these things. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Amen.
Thank you, everyone. We have Commissioner Hutchins, Monroe, Martin, and Harrison present. I'm Judge Stovall presiding over the meeting. Commissioners, you have the minutes from February 14th, 2023 regular session in front of you. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This time we'll have public testimony. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes and should conduct themselves in a civil manner. The Commissioners Court cannot take action on items not listed on the agenda in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Concerns will be addressed by county staff. They may be placed on future agendas or addressed by some other course of response. Is there anybody here today who wishes to speak to the court? Come forward and state your name and address. Do you have any filled out? Okay.
Aaron McAdoo, County Road 4309, address is 1794. I've got some exhibits for you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Just for reference as to what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Aaron McAdoo. I apologize. I'm not a public speaker, so I'm going to read from a script that I prepared. I'm a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and one of the residents that live on County Road 4309. I'm here this morning to speak with you on behalf of the current and future neighbors that live on County Road 4309 about events that have transpired related to the Hayes Estate development. The necessity for us to appear here this morning is unfortunate, as all of the issues that have transpired in the past 6 months could have easily been mitigated with civil communication and responsible representation. There's absolutely no need for these issues to escalate to the level of legal action, which may now be inevitable due to the Hunt County Planner's blatant disregard of factual information. I want to be very clear about one fact that has remained consistent from the beginning. None of the residents, including myself, have at any time expressed any opposition to Hayes Estates developing the property that they purchased. We simply requested that the county enforce the applicable regulations and laws pertaining to subdividing the property and that consideration be given to the impact on existing residents of alterations and accommodations that have been made for the developer. For background, when Aaron's Ranch sold the property that would be developed into Hayes Estates, that property had an assigned address on Highway 224. That's Exhibit 1 that's represented there. The entrance to the property and the power provided to that property were both off of Highway 224, and the survey of that property purchase clearly marked the west boundary of the property east of County Road 4309, not in the middle of the road. If the buyer had done their due diligence, they would have known that the northwest portion of this lot does not meet the criteria for subdivision as outlined in the Hunt County Subdivision Regulations. Hunt County Subdivision Regulations, Section 6, Paragraph 6, subparagraph D states that all lots shall abut and have direct access to a county street or road. That's Exhibit 2 in that packet that I provided. This, Your Honor, would have been the only legal justification needed for this court to have denied that plat. Again, we were not opposed to the development, just that it was done properly. A I'll also provide you a copy of these statements as I have additional information that I'm going to skip over to highlight. Outstanding issues that will need resolution now that that plat has moved forward. Bulldozing of a fence and tree line on our property prior to plat approval. Excessive tree trimming on Mrs. Moon's lot that is not adjacent to Hayes Estates. That's represented in Exhibit 3. And it does not have power lines. Encore went out and chopped off the top of all her trees for some unknown reason. Plans to expand the road without discussion and county approval to drastically increase traffic on a road that was poorly constructed, and then improve a portion of the road in front of the new development to the benefit of the developer without addressing the dangerous and deteriorating portion that connects Highway 224. Is that my time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
If you can wrap it up real quick, I'll give you just a little.
In conclusion, Your Honor, I just want to address the obvious question of what do we want. We're just asking for a temporary reversal of the plat approval until the issues can be reconciled. We want to work with the developer to help them to develop that land. It's created new controversy in the fact that the new landowners now claim that they own portions of our land because the plat that was approved included an easement on our property, and then that was included in the surveys of the new landowners, so they now claim to own land onto our property. All of the neighbors that we've talked to have been very courteous about it. There's no issue between us. It's just the fact that it was created, that was created by the approval. So we sought legal counsel from the Texas State property lawyers and easement lawyers, and they've all confirmed that there is a case should we need to proceed with legal actions. That's not our desire, but pending your response or lack thereof, that would be the obvious next step.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ma'am, did you want to speak? Yes, come forward and state your name and address, please.
My name is Beth Moreland. I am at 3507 Valley Forge Drive. I live in Saxe. I'm here today on behalf of Purple Wave Auction. We are an online equipment auction company. We sell on your site. We're a no reserve auction site. We take all the pictures of your equipment, any of your assets that you're selling. We organize them, we post them on our platform, and we promote them. There typically is a $100 lot fee associated with selling an asset. For government entities, we don't charge any type of lot fees. So any asset that you would be selling, you would not be charged any type of lot fee.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions? You have some pamphlets there you're going to give us, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here, you can give them all to me, and I'll get them to them. And we'll get this to our purchasing department that takes care of this. All right?
You can also do any kind of appraisals y'all would need on any of your assets as well.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to come forward and state your name, please? Name and address, sorry.
I'm Chelsea Halbert. My address is 1840 County Road, 4309. I'm actually a neighbor of Aaron McAdow. I'm just reiterating, because our property line goes past the county line, and I just reiterate that you guys look into this issue for us. It's been nonstop trespassing coming on our property, things thrown at me. I actually met with Mr. Toole last week, an Encore out there, and I was informed that the road was going to be widened, which to me comes off as an illegal land grab, as my property line goes past the county line and butts up next to Hayes Estate. So I'm just expressing that you guys look into this issue for us. Communication goes a long way from our counties, from developers to talking to the neighbors. So that's just kind of my request for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Daniel, do we need to respond to any of that at this time?
The county is not in a position to undo a plat. And I don't know what all information has gotten back to the landowners. I know I talked to you for about an hour and a half a couple of weeks ago. Initially, this plat came before the court and was denied because there was a question about what the county's ability to say yes or no was based on the property line dispute. We went through many, many hours, many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of property research. All of that research ended up being about a 3 or so inch thick file of deed records. At this point, based on the property review, the people who own out there, some of them do have property that goes to the other side of the road, but the other side of the road is the right-of-way. That road can be expanded across the right-of-way. It's not a taking of the property. I do understand their issues with the power company, and I heard from Mr. McAdoo and I think one other person that the power company was looking at putting poles on their side of the road, which seems, I mean, logically, it just looks and seems unreasonable. And Mr. Toole, I think, went out there and talked last week with the power company, and they're not going to do that anymore. Is that right? Correct. Okay. And so all the power lines are going to be on the other side of the road. The road will need to be expanded in order to, but not onto their property, onto the right-of-way. And I think that there may be some general ideas or misunderstanding about the what the right-of-way means. But from based on my review and the outside property experts that we hired, the county, because of state regulations, is completely boxed in. There is no way for the county to undo any sort of grant of the subdivision because it's not on the agenda today. Moving forward, should the county want to put it on the agenda, I don't believe that there's a legal mechanism that the county can use to undo the subdivision that's already been granted. Mostly because 4 years ago, the legislature changed all cities and counties' authority to either grant or deny subdivisions. I'm sure you've heard over and over all the trainings that you go to about the shot clock legislation. The county can only deny subdivisions if there are very specific parameters that are violated by the people requesting the subdivision. In this case, we looked very extensively at the property documents all the way back to statehood, and actually even before that, the Spanish land grants, and the application met all the requirements. I very much understand the position of the people who live on the west side of the road. I wouldn't want that to happen either. But the county doesn't have a choice here. The property that they own, at least some of them, and there's a question about who owns what. In fact, it's not a straight line. It looks like a jack-o'-lantern tooth type of back and forth. That comes from the requirements of the Veterans Land Board and transfers that happened back in the 50s. The 50s through the 70s, long before any of us were here, and certainly long before the legislature changed the rules to require the county to do certain things and to not do other things. And so at this point, to the extent that the county chooses to ignore that law and go back and undo the grant of a subdivision, the county will be in legal jeopardy because that will be against the way that the property code is written. Now, I don't know, I mean, Mr. McAdoo says that he spoke to some other attorneys. I don't know what they're saying the case against the county is, but based on the, the review of those documents and the experts that we hired to go back and look at the historical land ownership of that area, and then putting that through the lens of what the law is related to land ownership and use and ownership of the easement and right-of-way adjacent to the road. I believe that right now, the county's only ability to have any impact on that situation is to work with the power company to ensure that it doesn't do anything else on their side of the road, which has been done. That was, what was it, last Tuesday or Wednesday that you spoke with the power company, and they've assured you that they're not going to do anything on their side of the road, on the west side of the road. And so they had previously marked locations for poles. Those poles were marked in, some of them right in the ditch, which obviously is inappropriate and, I don't know if illegal is the right word, but it's inappropriate to put a power pole right in the middle of the ditch because that prevents the county from being able to clean out that ditch and maintain it and, keep the road from washing out. I don't see any way, legal way, that the county can further address these concerns. I feel very much for them. I own private property out in the county, and I'm worried about development as well. The problem is that the county has been put in a very clear-sighted box by the legislature. We have to grant subdivisions if those subdivision requests fall within the parameters of the law. And our experts are telling us that this request that was previously approved does fall within those parameters. So the county is outside of an area where it can do much of anything, frankly anything, related to the subdivision itself. The county's involvement from this point forward, to the extent it wants to do anything legally to benefit the neighbors on the west side of the road, comes down to doing what it can to ensure that their property rights are not affected by ensuring that any sort of construction of utilities or continued expansion of the road or building of additional ditches on the side of the road doesn't affect their property. And I know what they're talking about with the what they believe was trespass by the utility company, based on what the Encore told Brian and others with the county. To the extent that they're going to be out there at all anymore, it's not going to be on their side of the road. It's not going to have any impact on them. But those are two separate issues. One is an issue of what the power company is doing, which this court doesn't have any direct control over, other than locations of lines and things like that. And then the other one is the grant of the subdivision itself. Based on everything that I've seen so far, and I have given all these documents, at least to the attorney that they had initially, I don't see any way that the county can do anything other than what it's already done, period. Moving forward, the only things that the county really has any ability to affect or any control over relate to building utilities and the construction of that road. The construction of the road widening is also not going to have any effect on the property to the west side of the road. It will be expanded to the east. Some of that property is in the deeds of some of the neighbors on the west, but it is in their right-of-way.
Our right-of-way. It's in
the county's
right-of-way.
That's correct, on the east side of the road. And so I understand that there may be some feelings against expansion over there, but that is, it's not going to affect their property to the west, and the right-of-way is not something that, even if you own the land underneath it, property owners do not control expansion in the right-of-way for horizontal infrastructure, roads and utilities and ditches and everything else. So that's the general position we're in. I don't know if anybody has any questions about that or not. We have a limited ability to discuss it because it's not directly on the agenda.
Right. All right, well, we'll end this discussion and move on. Is there anything, anybody else wish to speak? Daniel, is there anybody on the line that's? Okay. Move on, old business, are we just going to talk about it in executive session or just?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioners, new business consent calendar. Any comments on consent? Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Action items, approval of accounts payable.
I make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Approval of line item transfers.
Make a motion to approve line item transfers.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Approval of budget amendments.
Make a motion to approve budget amendments.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Approval of payroll and personnel.
Make a motion, we approve payroll and personnel. Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 1, to amend number 17,975 from consent calendar item number 5 from the agenda on February 14th, 2023, a bond for Sheila Linden, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 1, Place 2, bond number LSM 1679090, effective 12/31/2022 to 12/31/2025, to read a bond to Sheila Linden, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 1, Place 2, bond LSM 1679090, effective 12/31/2022 to 12/31/26. That last date was what was incorrect, the 2025. So she had to have a bond for 4 years, and they gave her a bond for 3, so that's been corrected. Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 2, public hearing and discussion, consider approval of the modification of effective dates for previously adopted tax abatement agreements between Hunt County and Freeze and Store Greenville LLC, formerly known as North Texas Cold Storage LLC, and formerly known as 5500 Industrial Drive, Greenville, Texas LLC, the tax abatement agreement. Pursuant to the requirements of Chapter 312 of the Texas Tax Code and the guidelines and criteria for tax abatement in a reinvestment zone created in Hunt County and setting an effective date, Freeze and Store intends to build a multi-phase project of several refrigerated and dry storage buildings to provide third-party logistics, storage of products in multi-temperature freezer, refrigeration, and ambient storage. Phase 1 includes construction and outfitting of approximately 120,000 square foot building. Subsequent phases could include up to 340,000 additional square feet. Estimated construction costs are $22,500,000, and estimated business personal property investment is $3,550,000. Daniel?
Your Honor, this is an item to amend 2 previous tax abatements. Basically, when we first did, and this is here, and to the extent there's any legal questions, we can discuss those in executive session. But basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but basically when we started this, there were 2 different groups that we did tax abatements with, one for ad valorem taxation and one for business personal property. We're adding those in together. Now, the previous version that we sent over included one of those 2, and then for the city's version tonight, we included the other one. Those have been amended now. I have those copies that have both. But effectively, what you're doing is taking 2 different businesses, one that owned the property, one that owned the real property, and they both got abatements. You're putting those together.
What do you, so the personal property and real property, is that what you said, meant to say? Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry if I...
Well, you said property and then real property, and so,
Yes,
yeah.
business personal property and...
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, and so that's what this action is to basically put those 2 sets of property together under one set of corporate ownership. Because at the time that we did these, what was that, 2 years ago or so? So around 2 years ago, they were, it was 2 different groups, and those are now under the same corporate umbrella. And so I can, Greg and I can answer any general questions if you have those. Any legal questions, we'll go into executive session. And I've got the only difference in these from the version that was in your packet is that it includes both the business personal property and the ad valorem property taxation that were in two separate agreements, basically going into one pot under one set of corporate ownership.
So what has been built? Both phases has been built now?
You want me to come get some background?
Yeah.
Yeah, bring us up to date where they are on the phases and the dollar amounts if they totally built out.
Judge Greg Sims, Greenville Board of Development, Greenville EDC. Nice to meet you, Commissioner Monroe. Thank you for being here. Back in 2021, we worked on this project early in 2021, and it was a state lead, of which we were working with two companies that were doing a joint venture to possibly build a cold storage facility. And they were looking for land. It took us a long time to find a piece of land for them. But they were looking at different cities around the area, different counties. And one of their biggest customers was a large company here in Greenville. So we felt like we had a pretty good chance of landing them here. And the company that was here in Greenville that was utilizing their services was shipping it all the way to Arlington, Texas, their product. So the product was being made here, was shipped to Arlington, Texas, as a customer of one of these companies that were doing the joint venture. So they sought to move it closer to the plant, the manufacturing plant here. It would help them on logistic costs when they were trying to be competitive. So eventually we did land them, but they didn't build anything or buy any land until you guys approved a county tax abatement in 2021. As well as the city approved it as well. So originally how it was designed were these two companies that did a joint venture. One company was going to own the equipment and one company was going to own the real estate. That's why we had to do two different tax abatements back in 2021. Between the time they built it, and yes, Judge, they have it built already.
All of it?
Yeah, not all of it, 120.
120.
Feet. Yes, first phase they have built. They've just now completed getting hired up because COVID put them really behind the schedule, both in cost of the building, material costs, y'all know all this, labor, trying to hire labor, all that was all done during this COVID period. And so in the middle of all that, one of the other companies decided, their guy that owned the whole company decided to retire. And so he sold his whole company, not just this project, sold the whole company to the other company. And so that meant that the one company owned everything, and so they requested to change the tax abatements, which we had to amend it to the new name, as well as January 1, 2023, which was this year, would be the start of the 5-year 50% tax abatement for both equipment and real estate. That's the background. We hope they do more phases here. It's been a great project for us. It's helped our local economy through our local manufacturing base as well as local hiring. And so this is just a formality to get the paperwork straight so the company can receive the tax payment that we granted them back in 2021.
They're a pretty good electric user too,
They're
probably.
a great electric user,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
The 22,500,000, is that for just phase one? Or is that
Yeah, everything-
total of phase one and two?
Yeah, everything in the tax abatement would be for phase one. That's
Phase one only?
Yes.
Okay, and so those numbers are correct for phase
Yeah,
one?
so if they expand it, in 2 or 3 years, it'll apply to it as well. So, yes,
When did that tax abatement begin?
sir.
When did the tax abatement begin? What year?
January 1, 2023.
Okay, cool,
Yes, sir, 5 years.
good.
And the reason we did, normally we've asked for 10 years. The reason we did 5 years is because the road had to be built and the Board of Development through the city put in a lot of money to build the Industrial Drive Road. So we felt like that it was fair that we asked for a 5 years instead of 10. Normally we ask for 10, but we put extra money in the pot. So,
Yep.
thank you.
I want to thank you for what y'all been doing in reference to all this.
Well, you guys, Commissioners Court is a big, big part of this. You guys are very pro-business. You want things to happen, and you want employment here, and we just appreciate your support, so thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Dana, we need to open a public hearing at this time, or is this? Okay. Did you have any other comments before we did that? Okay. At this time, I want to open up for a public hearing. Any of those that wish to speak on this topic, please come forward, state your name and address. Are there anybody on the phone? Nobody online? Okay, being none, I'll close the public hearing. Daniel, we just need to approve as it's stated here. Is there any?
Approve it as it's stated on this item, and then I'll send over the electronic document for signature.
Okay.
And then to give the
Okay, I entertain a motion for approval of action item number 2.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Action item number 3, appointing Brandon Brand, IT Director, to implement a state-mandated cybersecurity training course through the Texas Department of Information Resources at no cost to the county for all county government employees and elected officials who have access to a government computer system or database to fulfill the requirements of the Texas Government Code 2054.5191. Commissioners, I hope everybody, all our department heads and elected officials will help us this year in getting all of this cybersecurity training done. I know we had a problem with the sheriff's department because we had 2 employees that had not done it at one point, almost cost us a grant. So it's a requirement of some grants now that we have to have this cybersecurity because they're communicating with us. So they want to make sure that we've done our part of trying to keep everybody secure. So I entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 4, 6-month lease extension with the Texas Health and Human Services Commission and the Texas Department of Family Protective Services for floors 4 through 7 in the Exchange Building with new expiration date of September 30th, 2023.
All right, this is a short 6-month extension for the 4 floors that the county leases to those state departments. Floors 4, 5, 6, and 7 over in the Exchange Building. You remember that these are the floors that we've been negotiating a lease with HHS-SC for them to cover basically some renovations that are going to cost between $200,000 and $300,000, amortized over a 5-year lease. We got, a couple of weeks ago, we got the bids. Those bids have to be awarded basically at the next meeting unless we get an extension from the bidding groups. The HHSC group wants to do this 6-month extension before we finalize the agreement with the lease and then the approval of the amortized construction amounts. Basically, their lease ends at the end of March, 32 days from now. Their position is that they need this in order to avoid any sort of lack of payment authority moving forward, because the state's position is that they have to have a lease in place for more than 30 days out. Otherwise, they can't guarantee timely payment or even payment at all. And so since that construction is likely to take 3 or 4 months, they want to do a 6-month extension. We asked them if we could make it shorter based on the end of the date of the construction. Their position is that they can't do that because they're bound to black and white hard numbers. And our estimation that it'll take 3 to 4, maybe 5 months to complete that construction doesn't fit within the black and white confines of the Texas Facilities Commission, which HHSC works through for this kind of lease. And so basically this lease would continue their current lease at the current prices, which are listed in here, but are subject obviously to the increases based on CPI indexes that we include in all of our leases.
Okay. Commissioners, you know, this is what we had, they'd requested to extend the lease. They wanted us to put new carpet in, do some painting, make some modifications into the break room and maybe a restroom or something. So we bid all that out. Numbers came in actually a lot less than what we were anticipating. And they did agree to pay for our consultant to manage it, our construction manager. So they're paying for not only the improvements but for the oversight of the project. So it's not going to cost the taxpayers anything. And then they will repay us back over the 5-year amortization of the money that we have to spend to get that done. So I entertain a motion for approval of the lease.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 5, widening the road 7 feet for approximately 1,521.4 feet on County Road 1112 of dirt to rock and then rock to oil sand in Precinct 1, monies in escrow.
Yes, Judge, I make a motion, we approve this item, and it is, as it said, it's just widening an existing county road that's very narrow. There's a development coming in there, and so we are working with the developer, and money is in escrow.
The road is currently dirt, though,
The road is currently an oil sand.
oil sand, so you're just doing the
You're-
improvement back up to oil sand, okay?
Widening to the existing surface type.
Perfect, okay.
Make a motion, we approve this item. Second.
Got a motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 6, the request to construct electrical power distribution facilities which will be in the right-of-way of County Road 2184 under normal stipulations in Precinct 2. Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Second. You're looking at me funny.
No, it's
Well, I was talking to her and trying to do 2 things at once. Got a motion saying all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 7, a variance for road frontage on 6640 Dry Creek Road due to the tract currently being assessed exclusively by easement in order to divide the tract into 2 parcels in Precinct 2. Daniel, you want to come forward? Or excuse me, Brian, you'll come. You just want to let him speak first? Okay, that's fine.
Morning, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Can you give us your address, please?
Yes, I'm actually building a house next to 6640, so my address is 6638 Dry Creek Road.
Thank you.
Essentially, what I've got is I have an easement to the property. 6640, the current home I'm basically renovating, which is an older home that's been there since the 70s. I'm putting my house next to that home. My intent at this point isn't to sell it, but I would want to possibly rent it out on occasion. For legal liability purposes, I need to be able to separate that, put it into a separate entity, just to avoid possible suits that could take the entirety of my property. I don't have the ability to require the other property owners to join an HOA. My easement's only for 40 feet, and I don't have the ability to make them make it a public road. So I'm kind of hamstrung in what I can do there, which is why I'm asking for this variance on that particular property.
Okay, Daniel, are you familiar with this, Daniel?
I'm not familiar.
Okay, Brian, you got anything to say? Thank you, Mr. Davenport.
Okay, so what we've got is we've got a pretty large tract of land, and at some point in the past, there was a tract that was cut out in the middle of this that was exclusively accessed by an easement. Sat way back off the road, no road frontage whatsoever, so this 40-foot wide access easement was created across the adjoining tract to access the tract that's now Mr. Davenport's. The road was named, the easement was named Dry Creek Road because there were several addresses off of it. There's a ranch back in there, and they needed several addresses. So they named it Dry Creek Road. There again, it is just an easement. It is not a public right-of-way. Obviously, from a development perspective, there's always the fear of the private road issue and some of these substandard road issues coming up without there being an actual road, an actual easement, and an actual HOA or the county to maintain that road. That's why when Mr. Davenport contacted me requesting, to be able to do this, I said, well, we need to get you in front of the court to ask for a variance. So this is back down, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the area, this is back down kind of near Alligator Bottoms. It's at the end of a road that's paved. Mr. Davenport paid for some upgrade on that county road to access the property a little bit better along the actual county road.
The private road or the county road?
The actual county
County
road.
road, okay.
Private. Beyond his property and beyond his driveway, the road pretty quickly turns to dirt and drops down into some bottoms that are almost impassable. So that's kind of the history on it, what's going on around it. I gave you the copy of the survey of his property that shows the access easement. I also gave you the tax map showing kind of the area where we're at over there in that Dry Creek area. And then you've got a proposed drawing of where he's wanting to potentially do this cutout. That gets us to this point, for him asking for the variance. So.
All right, thank you. Anybody got any questions on it? Daniel, you got any comments before? But we don't we have no way to really grant a variance if he's creating a subdivision, and it clearly doesn't meet the subdivision rules. I don't think we want to set a precedence of approving something like this and have to do them all the time. It clearly doesn't meet anywhere close to our subdivision rules.
I can't see how we can, to be quite honest with you, give variance and references, because it basically violates all the rules that we have. And it's not even a road.
Yeah, and for the public, our concern with all these is we have too many of these private roads, we have too many of these easements, these long driveways. We can't get emergency vehicles down them. They're not always maintained. We can't get fire trucks in and turn them around and get them back out. It's a public health and safety issue that, some people, when they do it, don't think about it, that someday they might need those emergency services. But we have to provide those emergency services, so we have to keep some standard of these roads where we can make sure that we have full accessibility, and the way we do that is through our subdivision rules. So, what's the pleasure of the court?
Judge, my question would be this, we're talking about a 40-foot easement, and it's 1,400 feet long. Is that a correct understanding? Is that 40 feet, just for confirmation, is that 40 feet is the only width available to you? You do not have anything else?
That's not even available. That's actually, really, it's available as far as a easement, but he don't own it.
Yeah. Well, it's not, we'd have to have a public road access to grant a subdivision on our subdivision rules. Not off an easement, it has to be on a public road.
For this to comply with subdivision regulations, it would need to be a 60-foot wide easement.
And the road built to our current standards.
I make a motion, we deny this.
Got a motion to deny it? Here, a second?
Second.
To deny it,
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a motion to deny the request for the variance. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Davenport, thank you. Sorry for your troubles, but we can't make a variance for one person, not everybody else. Action item number 8, the construction plans and final plat for Briar Branch Estates, Phase 1 and Precinct 1. Brian, you want to brief us?
Okay, Briar Branch, this is one that has been ongoing. The There was a paving plan that was y'all approved. There was a preliminary plat that y'all approved. This is a large multi-phase subdivision, and this is the approval of the construction plans with a letter from our engineer approving or stating that it meets all of the engineering guidelines. And it would also be an approval for the final plat of, now, of course, the final plat won't be recorded until their construction's finished. And they've got quite a bit of road to build and quite a bit of infrastructure to install.
So this is the middle section of it, of what the preliminary plat was,
This is the center, the middle section.
which
right?
is adjacent to the track we approved before that a family member was building on the adjacent.
Correct. That was a separate plat altogether.
Yes, separate, but that's where we're located.
Adjacent, yeah.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, you got any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved?
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 9, the final plat of Caddo Crossing Addition Phase 2 and Precinct 2. Brian?
Okay, this one, as well as item 10, this is the finalizing of Caddo Crossing. Caddo Crossing Phase 1 was built last year and completed last year. This is the rear section of it. The construction and the plans and everything were approved last year. Commissioner Straight and I inspected along with Mark Hickman as they were pouring this section. So they've just recently finished up. The last pour was in November. They've just finished up with infrastructure and grading and everything else. So, it's been an ongoing project now for some time. This would be the approval of the final plat for this section, second section.
Do we have a maintenance bond in reference to this?
Item 10 would be accepting the construction so that they could get their maintenance bond.
Okay, cool.
So it'll be subject to getting that.
It would be subject
So
to.
do we need to make it both items subject to the maintenance bond, Daniel?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'll entertain a motion for approval of action item 9 with the provision or the requirement that they furnish us a bond for the roads until it's filed, before we can file the plat.
What was the time, as far as maintenance, is that for 1 or 2? The maintenance bond?
The maintenance bond would be for 2 years. Yeah.
All right, entertain a motion.
Judge?
Yes, sir.
Can I make a comment?
Sure, absolutely.
This subdivision was done before I was here, but I've talked with Mark Hitchman, with Brian Toole. They both guaranteed me that it was up to standard. Done correctly.
You want that on the record, don't you?
Yeah. I personally went out and walked it. The construction of it, as of right now, appears to be correct. So I would second your motion, Judge.
Well, why don't you make the motion? I was
I'll make the motion.
with those exceptions of the maintenance bond.
Yes, sir. I'll make a motion with the 2-year maintenance bond that we accept this plat.
Okay. Got a motion second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 10, the completion of construction for Caddo Crossing Addition Phase 2 and Precinct 2. Brian?
This is the completion of their construction. They finished pouring. Mark Hickman and Commissioner and I, we all walked it, we inspected and looked at it, make sure that everything was up to county spec at this time. Of course, concrete on Blackland roads, there's no telling, but it's the 2-year maintenance bond. The developer's ready to go with the maintenance bond, said that they just need this acceptance of the construction, and then they would provide us the maintenance bond shortly thereafter.
So all streets in this are concrete?
They are all concrete, curb and gutter.
Refresh my memory, did you improve the road in front of it? Was it already improved surface?
It was already
Improved road? Okay. All right. Entertain a motion for approval action item 10 with the provision that they have to get us a 2-year bond for road maintenance.
I make a motion, we approve this with the stipulation the road bond is included.
Second?
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Action item number 11, the construction plans for Campbell RV Park in Precinct 4. Brian?
RV parks, the wave of the future.
Yeehaw.
We're all going to live in RVs before long, evidently. I don't know.
If inflation doesn't slow down, we might.
Yeah. We won't talk about taxes. Crickets. This is an RV park. The construction plans are up to our RV park regs, and there are obviously some concerns out here. There's some pretty good road leading up to it, but there are also a couple of questionable roads. Unfortunately, the questionable areas are on down the road, and there's not a whole lot that we can do to require the developer to upgrade several miles of road leading to his project, and some railroad crossings and things such as that. We've been back and forth. We've had several reviews of the civil plans, and everything's up to county spec and up to requirement, and the plans are.
So they're going to come back and do a one-lot subdivision based off the plans, or I don't remember what our rules say. They just have to do the construction plans?
They just have to do the construction plans, and then they're required for inspections like any other subdivision is.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Not, I entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and second. A reluctant motion.
Reluctant, especially because of the railroad stuff. I think that's going to become a problem, but
The first Prevost bus to hang up on that
Yeah.
road could be a bear.
Yeah. All right, we got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, anything else, Daniel? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session under items 1 through 4.
So moved.
second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We'll go into executive session at 10:52. Thank y'all for coming. hope that gets us back
We're
up.
back up.
All right. It is 12:16. We're back in regular session. I'll entertain a motion to approve and instruct the auditors to move $500,000 out of the American Rescue Plan in place in precinct 1, 2, 3, and 4's either budget or keep it under the,
Sorry to interrupt. Can we tell the people out?
oh,
We're back in session.
They'll put it in a line item.
yeah. Anybody coming in? Okay. I'll start over then. All right, we're back in regular session. I'd entertain a motion to authorize the auditor's office to move $500,000 out of ARPA funding for each commissioner, precinct 1, 2, 3, and 4, for each of their benefit in the ARPA, out of the ARPA money, and auditors can place it in the appropriate line items for them.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, that's motion second, and that'll be a total of $2 million of the $10 million ARPA money that we were allocated. So we got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Is there anything else before the court today? Not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned at 12:18.